You're tuned into PBA FM on 89.7 with Bianca Vlahos, and I've got my guest in the studio, Peter Nic, and we're here to talk about his third studio album titled A Lonely. Welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming in on this public holiday. It's a good effort.
Hey, every day is a public holiday when you when you work at home in a studio and just following your own schedule, I guess. But yeah, thanks for having me. It's a good day.
You're welcome. And now I did speak to you a few months ago, but we're here to talk about your third album, A Lonely. Firstly, how did you come up with the title of this album?
I like words that don't really exist, and it's kind of funny that I've always figured that if I come up with some kind of bizarre, crazy name, it will somehow end up in the dictionary. If some kind of massive amount of fame came about, it'd be like they just throw it in there. Now I like. This actual concept for the album was about being alone and feeling alone, and how being lonely is different compared to just being alone. Like there's a whole thing that like people go like, oh, I feel lonely, or I'm alone right now, so therefore I'm a lonely person. And it's just sort of like, it's a bit of a roller coaster ride, but for the album, all I can say for the listeners is just be prepared for like the highs and lows. Yeah.
And that's what life is.
Apparently, yeah, and so far, yeah, that's right, I can say that. But it's kind of, I really see the album in some like dark red sort of color. It's just something about the way that I went about the songs and how I wrote them, and it just all fell together, and the name just sort of fell onto the album, and I can't really explain it so much, but yeah, something about words that don't really exist. It's just it's what I fall into.
It's cool.
Cool, yeah, thanks.
That's interesting that you say a dark red colour. So can you just explain that further?
Yeah, I kind of figured as I said that you might ask. So
I like to delve into things.
yeah. Well, I have what's actually called synesthesia, and I'm self-diagnosed. Yeah, I know, but it's where essentially I see things as colours. So
Do you?
Yeah, for example, like your name, Bianca, would actually be like a yellowy mustard colour, and certain notes in music, and the months in the year, and days, and sounds, everything is like coloured. That
is so interesting.
Yeah, it was not interesting to me though, because it was interesting to other people. I didn't ever think of it growing up. Oh look, that banana is yellow, or the apple is red, or the carrot's orange. I'd notice the colours of things, when everyone would be like, it's just a carrot, or it's just, and people would be like, hey, what do you mean you see that as a colour? I'm like, don't you? And then they're like, no. So yeah, it just sort of happened, and that's what that is.
I think that's fascinating, because I did speak to someone the beginning of last year, about colour therapy, sound therapy, and this person went on a spiritual journey to South America. They were there for months, and she said when she reached enlightenment and she felt that she reached a state of inner peace within herself, she began to see things in colour, but before she didn't have that.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, and it does come through meditation, and patience is a big one as well. But it's something that I can say, like, it's different for everyone else. So, the person you're talking about, and even the people that I know that have had it as well, like, it's all different. I might see the note in music D as dark blue, and someone else might go, that's green, what are you talking about? And I'm like, no, it's dark blue, and then we just have this argument.
Gee, so when you're making music, you're seeing rainbows?
Well, it's not like seeing rainbows. It makes me sound like I'm high on some kind of drug, but no, it's like I don't really, as soon as I start playing things, I don't just go, oh, no, this rainbow of colours. It's more just like a feeling. It's just like I can relate it to something. And if I go to actually think about it, if I go, all right, so now what is that colour? Then I'll notice it. But it's not like always in front of my face.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you can switch it on and off.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, that's good, because this person couldn't do that.
No, okay.
But they had a totally different story. They had a different journey. They weren't a musician. It was totally different. But she said she couldn't switch it off. But I think she had learnt to over the months since I had spoken to her. So it's so interesting. Meditation. Do you meditate?
I don't do it so much anymore. Like when I was at university, I had to. I just got to this point where I was like, I'm gonna get 4 or 5 hours of sleep. If I don't calm myself down, no one's gonna help me. So I pretty well used to do like it's kind of like musical therapy, and I meditate through music anyway, I guess. So actually, you know what? Yeah, I do still meditate. if that's how I'm going to say that. Yeah.
I was listening to a podcast yesterday, and they were talking about stress and how people are so stressed in this day and age, and they were saying one of the biggest aspects that has worked for so many people is music, and even to just put classical music on or whatever music you like.
Yeah.
Apparently it changes the physiology of our body and our cells, and it releases, what's the feel-good hormone?
Endorphins.
Yeah, endorphins and serotonin.
Yeah. Because
when we're stressed, cortisol is released. So when we listen to classical music or music we like, we get the feel-good hormones, and that's really good to remind ourselves of, because I think we all know it, but it's good to say that again.
This is spiritual talk, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, this
is it?
Yeah. Well, you know, it's great. It's great.
Right.
I love talking about this stuff. It's pretty well like meditation for me. I can say is the kind of thing that releases the tension from my muscles and quietens the mind. That's kind of what it does. And I guess like my objective, or one of my objectives in music, is to actually be able to affect as many people as I can, like a really good influenza, you know, if that's a weird way to say it. But I want to be able to, you know, make people think, make people feel, and in a sense, yeah, like music is my meditation, but I'm also trying to show other people that they can feel it too. So I don't know. I think a lot of people say, even when it comes to music, funnily enough, oh, you've got to write a song that's 3 minutes, blah, 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 and it's got to have a chorus and a bridge, and then it's got to finish, and then, you know, and then it's like, well, why? You know, you don't really get to that high point sometimes. So when it comes to writing music, it's like you can actually push and pull and change people's emotions depending on how you write the songs.
Big time.
Yeah.
Exactly. And also, you know, I want to get to what you're right about, but before I do that, it's also what you feel as the artist. And you're a very passionate, deep thinking person for your young years of 24 years.
Oh,
I've said this to you before. You're such a wise, mature person. And, you know, I think we feel that through your music too. So you do have that power of influence, which you're lucky you've got that. Yeah,
and I sort of don't know where my personality came from. It's an interesting thing, because like, and I say that because I hear myself back from, like, you know, from talking on radio or from, you know, being in interviews or whatever, and then I'm like, oh, that's not how I thought I sounded, that's not how, whatever.
That's interesting, yeah.
But I just think, honestly, the biggest thing in my life was having a few relationships that really shaped who I am today. Because some people go, you know, oh, I've never been in a relationship, or I've had one, and that's fine. But it's just for some people get influenced, or, you know, can relate to things more once they have been. So yeah, that really changed my whole perspective on life as well.
So you're not talking about just regular relationships like with family members, you're talking about like an intimate relationship?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I think we really grow through those ones, don't we? Intensely.
Yeah, absolutely you do. And that's how, like, geez, so many things that I've done in the past that I'm like, not like, you know, like real bad things or anything, it's just things like, well, why did I do that for? Like, why did I not, you know, and then I started, I've got to write that down, you know, and then it ends up being in a song, so.
And you're not alone there. I mean, I'm double your age, well, not double, but, you know, I'm much older than you, and I still do that. Like, even back to when was it, 2015, I look back and I say, oh, what was I thinking?
Yeah.
What did I do? I must have been crazy. You know what I mean? And I think, why am I doing this in my 40s? Shouldn't I have got this out of my system in my 20s to look back and say, I regret doing this, I regret doing that. But, you know, life is a journey and we're always evolving, and I don't ever think that ends.
It's funny that you say that, because, like, I've been, like, angry about it. Like, why did somebody not tell me this? Yeah. Like, but then people didn't even notice. Like, they would have had no idea that was going on, or that I was acting that way. Maybe that was just internal, but I'm like, I should have known this before. It's like, no, you're human. So you got to be human.
And also some things we need to go through, even, you know, the things that I look back on that don't make sense, and I think, you know, well, I could have maybe not done that, but at the time, you know, sometimes we need certain things. Sometimes we need to make those mistakes, and, you know, to always be, you know, that's why I worry for people that are brought up in families that it's too strict, or, you know, the parents don't let the kids do what they need to do, and then they wonder why they hit their 40s and they do sit there and go and experiment or whatever. It's just it's an issue.
Yeah.
Because people need to get it out of their system. And I remember speaking to a psychologist that I had on the show, and she said, yes, everyone in their teens or 20s has to go through things and make mistakes and really go through not terrible times, but the ups and downs, and that's really how we grow. And she said she's noticed the people that have done everything right and not made any mistakes in their teens and 20s. She said, bet your bottom dollar in their 40s and 50s they went off the rails because they had to get it out of their system.
Yeah.
It's human nature.
Yeah. Well, I don't see failure as like, oh, you fail, well, that's too bad. I see failure as success, because the only way that you can become successful is if you fail. So isn't that a part of success?
Exactly. Like with a light bulb.
Mm.
The bloke that, Edison, he kept trying and trying and trying, and he said, I haven't failed, I've just found a way of doing it better. Yeah,
exactly, and it just gets better every time. So, like, anyone listening, if you feel like you're failing, you should just laugh at yourself and go, like, this is literally just that tiny part of that building block that's going towards success. It's not actually a bad thing.
That's right. Now, how do you get involved with your creativity? How do you get into that space? It's got to be hot and cold, hot or cold. It's got to be like I'm either really annoyed at something, or it could be myself or another person, but it's usually myself, and that's why I guess it's good we've been talking about this. It's either that or I'm feeling really good about something, and I just never go up to the studio and just like start writing and go, you know what, I feel like all right today, I'm just going to write a great song. It just doesn't work. It's like you got to be feeling something sort of deep, or something that's like just bursting out of you. And do you get into nature? A lot of people say they like to go for a walk just to get grounded, walk barefoot on the grass.
I don't get out anywhere near as much as I should. I've been actually more of a sound engineer over the past few months, like mixing and making sure my mixes for my music sound as great as I can, and just like learning as much as I can. And I haven't gotten out anywhere near as much as I should have, but I love just I don't like wearing shoes out. I want to feel the ground. That's who I really am, but I've got to get there. I've got to do more of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Nature. Actually, I was having this conversation with my husband the other day, and he said, what's all this tree hugging talk? I've heard you on the radio talking about, I've had guests on the show talking about hugging a tree, and trees have energy, and it's science. I said to him, it's science. This gentleman, I think it's David Haskell's, written a book about trees, and he went into the forest and he attached all these bits of equipment to a tree, and it actually makes noises and sounds. And when things were going wrong, like if someone cut a branch off a tree or a plant, it made a distressed noise. That they are living, they have energy, and that's why people say when they go and sit near a tree or sit under a tree and read, it's relaxing. It's not just in the mind, it's science.
Yeah, well, let's not confuse a nervous system for energy. So yes, they do have energy, they don't have a nervous system. Energy is what you can feel, and that's why people that are on plant-based diets and stuff, people go, oh, you're hurting the trees or whatever it is. It's like they don't have a nervous system, they can't feel that. But yes, all things, nature has its own energy. It's everywhere.